On the day I got my driver's license, I rear-ended a wedding car. It turned out that the groom getting out of the car was actually my current boyfriend, Howard. The bride pointed at me and scolded, "Are you crazy? You're just sticking to my luxury car." Meanwhile, Howard stood beside her, holding her waist, and said to me, "Shirley, the person I love is Cherry. Please stop pestering me." It made me laugh, considering he was the one who used to pester me in the first place. On the very day I hit the road with my new license, I encountered a Rolls-Royce wedding car with a familiar license plate. My dad adored that car and had spent millions on modifications, so it couldn't have been loaned out. I was following too closely and ended up rear-ending it. Two individuals got out of the wedding car and walked angrily towards my car. My heart skipped a beat, and my hands on the steering wheel started to tremble. Can you believe it? The groom was actually my boyfriend, Howard. Wasn't he supposed to be back in his hometown taking care of his critically ill mother? Before leaving, he even asked me to help with his project. And now, he turns around and gets married to someone else. Unconvinced, I thought, maybe they are long-lost twin brothers. So, I took out my phone to call him, and then, the groom's phone rang. When I got out of the car holding the ringing phone, the faces of all three of us were priceless. The bride in her glittering white wedding dress pointed at me and scolded, "Are you out of your mind? You intentionally crashed into us, just because you saw us in a luxury car. Your tactics are despicable." I felt my heart race. After all, I had been in a 3-year relationship, truly invested my feelings in my boyfriend. I looked at Howard, furrowed my brows, and asked, "Howard, what is going on?" The bride also seemed suspicious, clinging to Howard's arm and coquettishly inquiring, "Honey, do you know her?" Howard avoided her gaze but quickly embraced the bride's waist, trying to calm her. "She is someone who pursued me in college, probably lost control seeing us getting married." With a cold snort, the bride shot back, seemingly convinced, "That is truly shameless. So, does that mean I have been in a relationship with a dog for the past 3 years? Forget it, honey, let's go. Don't delay the wedding. Anyway, this pauper can't afford the repair costs," the bride said arrogantly, eyeing me disdainfully. Howard nodded indulgently and held her hand, ready to return to the car. But that Rolls-Royce belonged to my dad, so who gave them the right to refuse repairs? I stepped forward, blocking their way, and said, "Wait." Howard reluctantly looked at me and said, "Shirley, the person I love now is Cherry. Please stop pestering me." In front of his newlywed wife, Howard's words were vague. "If there was love before, let's not make things difficult, okay?" At that moment, I felt sad for my past foolishness. How did I not realize his twisted principles earlier? I pointed to the scratched back of the Rolls-Royce. "The repair bill is probably going to be substantial. Let's wait for the insurance company for on-site assessment." The bride sneered, "Don't be ridiculous. Look at yourself, driving a broken-down car. Can you afford it? Cherry doesn't even bother with you anymore. Why are you still bothering?" Howard, with a puzzled look, sternly warned me, "Don't waste your efforts. I won't be with you. We are not on the same level." Ignoring their remarks, I filed for insurance and called the police. Not only that, I took photos from every angle of the accident scene, leaving no corner undocumented. After all, our family's money didn't come out of thin air. When the bride heard I called the police, her expression changed. She walked away to make a call and then returned to tell Howard, "Honey, let's take a cab to the hotel first. My father will send someone to handle this." Howard seemed reluctant. "Shouldn't we use the wedding car to go to the wedding venue?" The bride raised her chin, pouted disapprovingly, and complained, "It's all because of this woman, insisting on waiting for the insurance company to come. How long does she want to make my family wait at the hotel?" Quickly switching back to being tender and caring, Howard said, "Don't worry, darling. I'll call a better car for us. I can't let you suffer." The two of them walked away affectionately, and this time, I didn't stop them, because in that moment, I saw through his true nature, vanity and lofty ambitions. If I were to expose the bride's identity now, it would be like rescuing Howard from the brink, which was too easy on him. When the insurance company arrived, they reviewed the footage and discovered the car in front had made an illegal lane change, holding the majority of the responsibility. Furthermore, the footage clearly showed Howard in the driver's seat. I was satisfied with this outcome, even if I had to pay half of the repair costs. Howard couldn't handle it, not to mention the suspicion of stealing the vehicle with his new bride. So, I left the follow-up to the lawyer, instructing him to send the legal letter to Howard after some time. With everything arranged, I decided to go to Howard's wedding venue to join the festivities. I opened Howard's social account and found nothing about him, Looks like he had blocked me. I had to call Howard's good buddy to ask about the hotel where Howard's wedding was held. He didn't seem happy, and said Howard had moved up in the world and didn't associate with us anymore. Turns out, Howard married the daughter of White's group, and the wedding was held at Star Hotel, a place only millionaires could attend. I arrived at Star Hotel, and saw a huge wedding poster of Howard and his new wife welcoming guests to the 6th floor. I posted in the family group asking if our dad had a secret daughter. Chaos ensued, and my brother Paul and Levi joined in, shocked about the news of a possible secret sister. Sam called me and explained that Cherry is from our hometown, and her dad got a job in our company. Sam grilled me about Howard, but I assured him it was just a breakup. Later, my brother joked that Howard was blind to let me go. I decided not to kick them out yet, waiting for the right moment. I refused the front desk's help, and used my card to go to the 6th floor. 2 bridesmaids dragged me to the dressing room, complaining I was late and makeup free. They warned me that if the bride wasn't happy, it'd be on me. Turns out, Cherry hired part-time bridesmaids to fill in. They mistook me for one and quickly dressed me up. I chuckled at the irony of fake bride, fake wedding car, and even fake bridesmaids. I wondered how Howard would react when he found out the truth. Cherry's hired bridesmaids quickly styled me up, and I blended in as part of the squad. Despite feeling plain, I was ready to support the bride and keep the peace. I stayed put by the stage, waiting for my cue to deliver the wedding ring. With that, she handed me 2 ring boxes. I readily agreed and said, "Hand them over to me." Now, not only did I not have to worry about being recognized by Howard and his gang, but I also secured a prime spot to watch the drama unfold. Clearly relieved, as they were about to leave, they exaggeratedly cautioned me, "Whatever you do, don't lose them. These wedding rings are worth millions, and it's something we can't afford to lose in our lifetime." Millions. Out of curiosity, I opened the ring box and took a glance. A sense of familiarity washed over me. Paul managed the jewelry business for the group, and was a jewelry designer. And these rings? I happened to have seen the design drawings in his studio. Could it be taken from my family again? If it turned out that these rings belonged to my family and they were used as wedding rings, that would be quite outrageous. I quickly sent a photo of the wedding rings to the chat group. Does Paul look familiar? These are the wedding rings used at Cherry's wedding today. Dad, you unwittingly brought in a family of thieves. I personally designed these for our parents' 25th anniversary. What's up with Sam? Figure it out. How come they haven't been taken away by the police yet? Cherry is marrying Shirley's ex-boyfriend. Shirley plans to give this scumbag a taste of his own medicine. Let her have her fun first. Paul told me he had sent a matching pair of rings for the bride and groom identities. When I opened the velvet boxes, I was almost blinded by the shiny gold rings and the large emerald on top. But having learned a lot from my big brother, as I held them, I soon discovered the gold was plated, and the gem was glass. I wondered if the bride's face would be red with anger later. As the wedding was about to begin, a round-faced girl sneaked backstage. "Hello, I'm the 3rd bridesmaid. Why are you wearing my dress?" She pointed at herself and then at me. "Oh, you're finally here. Let's find a restroom to change clothes. Also, here's the ring box for you. They said they'd deduct pay for being late." They pulled me in as a substitute. "These are the wedding rings. When the host calls you later, just bring them up to the stage. I was stuck in traffic on my way here. You're really kind." Her praise made me feel a bit guilty, but if Cherry dared to pursue the ring issue, I would cover for the little girl, so it wouldn't affect her. After changing clothes, the girl went to wait backstage. I quietly went to the hotel surveillance room, where a row of high-definition monitors displayed Howard and his gang's wedding scene from every angle. When I was dating Howard, I had video chatted with his family members, but as I zoomed in on the main table, I carefully examined it and didn't see any of his family members. However, I did recognize a few guests at the venue who were also business partners with White's group, which indicated that Cherry's wedding was not a simple affair. She had pried on my people, and her father seemed to be plotting something against my father's men. Shortly after, the wedding officially began. Cherry, arm in arm with her father, walked up to Howard. After a display of deep emotions and vows, the host finally announced, "Now, let's invite the bridesmaid to present the wedding rings to the couple." At the same time, the girl carried the rings onto the stage. The host excitedly introduced to the audience, "I'm sure you all know that the bride's brother, Paul, is an outstanding jewelry designer. The rings in the bridesmaid's hands were personally designed by him. The gemstones on the 2 rings were cut from the same top 5 ranked blue diamond in the world." There was a small stir in the audience. Howard and Cherry's faces filled with eager excitement. "Now, let the groom and bride exchange these tokens of love, and let's send our best wishes to the newlyweds." The host's gaze slowly moved over the 2 rings, their smile visibly frozen for a moment before they lightly joked, wishing the couple everlasting love. I saw Howard's face filled with confusion, even his hands trembling as he took the ring. And Cherry, in that one moment when she saw the real rings, her face turned as white as a sheet. She bit her lip hard, giving a sharp stare at the girl presenting the rings, but ultimately held back. The rings had an uncertain origin. How could she dare to cause a scene on the spot? She whispered a few explanations to Howard, and they managed to exchange the rings without any disturbance. Originally, if they hadn't made such a big deal, with the size of the venue and sitting guests below, no one would have noticed any issue with the rings. Unfortunately, they had instructed the cameraman early on to focus on the rings and give them the maximum and highest quality close-ups. As a result, everyone saw those gold-plated rings on the big screen. The scene was too shocking, and even though the camera quickly shifted focus, the guests below started whispering. These people were all savvy operators in the business world, so how could they not see that the ring was fake? But out of respect for the Whites group, no one exposed the issue, but the scrutinizing eyes couldn't help but fall on Howard and Cherry. They looked like monkeys in a circus, being watched. In just a few minutes, Cherry's proud and self-satisfied look was replaced by embarrassment, and Howard's once handsome face turned as red as a beetroot. Can they not handle this? Their tolerance is really low. Just as I was getting bored, the MC suddenly announced, "Groom, you can now kiss your bride. Let's all wish this couple a happy future together." Amidst scattered applause, Howard and Cherry awkwardly hugged and kissed for a moment. After that, Cherry linked arms with Howard and walked off the stage. They were going to change into their toasting outfit, but before they even reached the dressing room, they were already arguing at the door. Seeing no one around, Howard grabbed Cherry and urgently asked, "What's the deal with the ring? Why is it fake?" "Of course, it has to be fake," Cherry said nonchalantly. "Do you know how expensive the ring my brother gave cost? Over 60 million. What if it gets lost at the wedding? But did it have to be swapped with such a cheap and flashy one?" Cherry pouted in dissatisfaction and retorted, "This ring is just for the wedding, and then it has to be thrown away. You're not a vain person. Why do you care so much?" Howard visibly choked. I really wanted to laugh out loud. "Who's not vain? Go change your clothes already," Cherry coaxed as she pushed him along. "Later, I'll even introduce you to some important people." With that said, Howard visibly perked up, and the two quickly disappeared from the surveillance range. Even though Howard had become the prospective son-in-law of the Whites group, what kind of important person could make him so excited like a dog seeing a bone? I shifted the surveillance footage back to the wedding scene and searched for possible figures, until I saw a middle-aged man, with a slicked back hair, and dressed in a suit. I had seen this person in the three-person photo on my dad's desk. He was said to be a good friend, who had started from scratch with my dad, and was also one of the founding members of the Whites group. A few years ago, he had claimed to be unwell and wanted to be a passive shareholder, just living off dividends. For that, my dad had mourned for quite a while. His appearance at Cherry's wedding was quite delicate. Others may not know the specifics of the Shu family situation, but as a longtime brother of my dad, how could he be unaware? I immediately told my older brother about this. He replied with 2 messages. "Got it. Just enjoy the show. The excitement is about to begin." I could imagine the smile on his face right now. It was so twisted that even a pervert would find it disturbing. About 10 minutes later, Howard and Cherry returned to the wedding scene hand in hand. It was clear that they had made some mental adjustments, as the previous embarrassment was gone, and they were now confidently moving through the venue. Soon after, a team of waiters in uniforms began to push food carts into the hall. Every dish on the carts was covered with pure gold lids. Even the champagne bucket was made of solid gold. Under the lights, everything was glistening with gold. Howard's eyes widened as he exclaimed, "Baby, how much did this cost?" "This is nothing for our family," Cherry proudly replied. "Today's ingredients are all top-notch, so of course we need to serve them in good utensils." "Exactly. This kind of grandeur is worthy of my darling." Howard held Cherry's hand proudly as they walked towards the main table. He even touched the wedding ring on his finger, probably feeling that he had misjudged earlier, and that the ring should be made of pure gold with emerald gemstones. But what caught my attention first were the dinner plates and soup bowls below, all from Hermes. If I remembered correctly, a single spoon from this series cost over 1,000, while the large dinner plate was even more expensive, costing tens of thousands. I wasn't sure what Sam was planning to do. Were all of these fake goods as well, or was he planning to create some accidents by damaging all the tableware and making Howard's side pay for it? What I didn't expect was that I underestimated Sam's weirdness. When all the dishes were served starting from the main table, the first food cart that was pushed to the main table left the other carts standing still. Cherry leisurely walked up to the man in the suit, nodded politely, and said, Uncle William, this is my husband Howard. My dad must have mentioned him to you, as he is now considered a key figure at the research institute. Cherry tried to downplay it. I don't compare to even a fraction of William's achievements. I heard William's company has surpassed all expectations. Howard, feeling pleased, was suddenly interrupted by Cherry's father. Howard, Cherry, make sure to toast your uncle later. Howard could only comply. As the waiter passed by him with a tray, he looked smug and even his eyebrows were raised in triumph. But when the golden lid was lifted and the waiter placed a plate of exquisite tofu on the table, Howard's smile cracked inch by inch. Next, every table was served this dish simultaneously. Cherry couldn't stop it and furiously demanded, who authorized the change in the menu? How dare they serve this kind of stuff? But this wasn't just any tofu. The waiter calmly explained, this was flown in from China. Cherry was shaking with anger, and Howard had to pull her back, reassuring her, don't worry. It's just the first appetizer. The main course is still coming. He couldn't have imagined that the daughter of the Whites group would be pranked like this at her own wedding banquet in their hotel. Reality dealt them a harsh blow. Looking around, there was no meat, none at all. Over 200 guests were stunned by this unexpected turn of events. The silence was eerie, and for a moment, I thought I could hear Cherry gasping for air. Howard stiffly turned to Cherry, his lips trembling. Cherry, did you order too many appetizers? Cherry grabbed the waiter's arm and said urgently, go to the kitchen and ask when the main course will be ready. These are all supposed to be main dishes. I don't believe it. Hurry up. Cherry was on the verge of a breakdown. The waiter blinked in confusion. Should I serve this soup now? This is the main course. I'll handle this table. You go check in the kitchen. Howard took the soup bowl from him and carefully served it at the main table. He took a deep breath, smiled apologetically before revealing, the previous dishes were just appetizers. This soup is the actual main course. I apologize for the oversight. Please bear with us. Everyone nodded and focused on the bowl of soup. They were curious to see what surprises awaited after all the commotion. But when the lid was lifted, there was a fragrant mushroom soup. William's eyes twitched, but he quickly tried to defuse the situation. It seems the chef added a creative touch. Howard nodded repeatedly, but in his excitement, he accidentally knocked his ring against the lid. With a loud clang, everyone watched as the large green gemstone on his ring came loose and fell into the soup bowl. This extravagant wedding ended in a farce, leaving them with a hefty bill. Whether due to financial interests or true love, Howard and Cherry did not break up directly. The next day, as I returned from the lab, I ran into Howard downstairs holding a cup of milk tea. Shirley, he called out to me. As he handed me the milk tea, he had a forced smile on his face. I brought your favorite milk tea for you. I didn't reach out to take it, so his extended hand awkwardly hung in the air. Are you still mad at me? I replied, no, you just made a mistake that all men make. I looked at him calmly. Despite our messy breakup, I still wished him a happy marriage and asked, why aren't you at home with her? Howard's face twitched for a moment, but soon, he smiled and said, I knew you were a generous person. When calculating the bill, I exacted it to 2 decimal places. Shirley, all these years, my feelings for you were real. He gazed at the misty sky at a 45-degree angle, pretended to be sentimental, and said, but love without material is like a plate of sand. It scatters the moment a gust of wind blows, dissipating with just a few steps. I came here today to sincerely apologize to you. What happened yesterday was sudden. I was forced to say hurtful things to you, hoping you could forgive me. Now he was really buzzing like a bee. Okay, I accept your apology. Now that you have a family, to avoid suspicion, let's not meet alone again. If there's nothing else, I'll head upstairs. As I started to walk away, Howard hesitated. Just as I turned around, he urgently grabbed me and said, actually, one more thing. Did you complete the project I assigned you earlier? Surprised, I asked, Howard, did you not pay attention to the supervisor's notice? What notice? I suddenly remembered he was kicked out of the group last night. So, I kindly showed Howard the message our advisor sent in the group chat last night. It was supposed to be an announcement, but instead, our easygoing mentor listed out all the bad things he had done, gave him a good scolding, and then informed him that he was expelled. People who saw him were to tell him to come back to school on a chosen day to complete the withdrawal procedures. Since our relationship was awkward, and you always get along with everyone, I thought other classmates would tell you. I casually mentioned. Howard stared at the chat interface for a long time without saying a word, his face turning as dark as it could get. with some colorful fury seeping out. "Did you have a hand in this?" He suddenly glared at me fiercely. "Of course not," I replied. Maybe he forgot that the reason he could attend graduate school and join this research group was partly thanks to me. He forgot how many papers and research topics he got from me without any effort. His being abandoned just because I don't want to help him anymore. I innocently lowered my gaze. "If you think that way, I can't change it. But this is the school's decision. It has nothing to do with me. I never expected you to be so scheming." Howard coldly snorted and warned, "Shirley, do you think threatening me with this will make me turn back? My wife is not only the heiress of White's group, but also has a close relationship with William. What are you? Even if the teachers at school value you highly, after you graduate, you'll still end up working for someone else." Finally, he pointed a finger at my nose and threatened, "Don't let me find out that you're involved in my withdrawal, otherwise, you won't be able to stay in this city in the future. I, Howard, have 100 ways to make you wish you were dead." After he left, I went to my family and vowed to make Howard experience 100 ways to die. "Sam, if he keeps acting recklessly, he'll likely end up in prison." "Paul, Shirley, Howard is coming to the group for an interview the day after tomorrow. Do you want to come watch?" My brother, Levi, is a twin with Paul, and despite appearing cute with his words, he's actually the CHO of White's group. On the day Howard was scheduled to interview, I drove to the company early. Coincidentally, just as I parked, I witnessed Howard and Cherry arguing heatedly near the entrance. In the chaos, I heard a keyword William. So, I stayed in the car and discreetly started recording a video using their blind spot. Cherry was bossing Howard around disdainfully. "Tell me, how did you suddenly get expelled from school? Are you worthless? Were all those achievements you boasted about fake?" "I've said it many times, I was framed." Howard's face was full of anger, his fists clenched tightly. But Cherry's criticisms didn't stop, until Howard couldn't take it anymore and roared at her, "Enough. What's the point of saying all this now? If your family is so powerful, can't they help me smooth things over with the school? Do you think William and my dad would take an interest in someone who needs them to pull strings for you?" Cherry sneered, "I guess I was wrong about you. Looks like you don't need to come to the interview at the group. Let's get a divorce." Howard sought out Cherry because of her status as the heiress of White's group, while Cherry pursued Howard because he was a top student at the research institute. The two of them lingered in the same spot for a while. Cherry slapped Howard, turned away, and was about to leave. Howard looked dejected and gave in. "I can provide William with the research data we worked on at the research institute." He gritted through his teeth. "Several project achievements are under my name. I can bring them to Star Language." He gritted his teeth again. "Look what I've heard. This love affair of theirs seems to be governed by the penal code. Whatever is illegal, they just do it." Next, I overheard Cherry's skepticism. "Can the school let you authorize for external use?" "Don't worry. I'm an author too. Why can't I use it?" Howard gritted his teeth once more and tried to convince her. "Once I enter the company, not only can I help our dad secure his position on the board, I can also be the best support for William. White's group is strong, but if we can reach a strategic cooperation with William's company, we will have even greater room for development." Cherry's dad is also going to the board of directors, but it seems Cherry is a bit tempted. So, miraculously, they reconciled, and the two of them affectionately headed towards the elevator, presumably for the interview. I took my dad's private elevator up from the other side and went to find Levi. He was bored, flipping through a stack of documents. "I just saw Howard and the others in the parking lot," I said. "They are making a lot of shady moves because William is backing them up. The company that's competing with our family also has William as the boss behind the scenes." I played the video I just recorded. After watching it, Levi squinted slightly. I knew this old man was up to no good. "Don't worry. Sam is already taking action. He won't be able to walk away from this unscathed. Take a look at this first." He ruffled my head and handed me a stack of documents. As I flipped through them, I realized it was Howard's resume, thick as an autobiography. He had taken credit for some of our lab projects, even those that hadn't been officially completed yet. This guy was really shameless. He must have had this twisted idea since he joined the lab, hoarding all these materials. But he was clever, probably sensing something off about Cherry, but not willing to let go, hence preparing a backup plan. If it were another company, they might have been very interested in what he was offering. Unfortunately for him, he crossed paths with me. Here and here, after verification, the data had already been altered. I made some marks with a pen and smirked coldly. So what he leaked was archived original data, not just misappropriation, but theft. This should probably get him a few more years. If I were him, I might prefer to be locked up for life. Otherwise, when he gets out, he'll spend the rest of his life paying off debts. As I spoke, Sanji handed me a bundle of consolidated bills. Knowing you wanted to personally interview him, here, take these. Use them to scare him. He really gets me. I came here today with the intention of giving Howard a surprise in person. So I took his resume and the bill package and headed to the interview room. Approaching the door, I saw Howard and a few others inside, with Cherry cozying up to him, whispering, "You know, Levi is a young genius who earned dual degrees abroad before he turned 20. Now he's the HR director of the company. He's interviewing you today. You'll definitely get at least a department manager position. I just love dealing with smart people like this." Howard showed a confident smile, saying, "Don't worry. I'll make sure he knows my abilities are more than a match." "Excuse me." I knocked symbolically on the door and walked straight in. "Shirley, what are you doing here?" Howard's face turned dark as soon as he saw me. Aren't you that despicable woman who crashed into our wedding car?" Cherry also recognized me and immediately pointed at me, cursing dramatically. "Oh, you just can't find a man of your own. You have to stick to my husband, right?" "What? You want to ruin my interview? I've already been pre-selected. You can't compete with me. I suggest you not spoil your own fun." Howard glared at me unfriendly, his words filled with threat. Both of them had a bit of imagination, but not much. "I'm here to collect a debt." I walked over and sat down gracefully across from them, pushing Howard's resume in front of him. "What's this? How do you have it?" A look of confusion and panic finally appeared on his face. I grinned slightly, displaying a perfect professional smile. "Nice to meet you again. I'm Shirley, technical consultant at White's Group Product Development Department. Also, your interviewer today." Howard was completely stunned. How is that possible? Meanwhile, it seemed Cherry suddenly grew restless. She might have figured out my identity. I had been involved in a kidnapping case as a child, although it ended without incident. But since then, my family never revealed my recent photos or personal information. Cherry's family had arrived here recently, didn't meet me before. It was normal that she couldn't recognize me, but they must know my name, otherwise they wouldn't have chosen a similar one to deceive people. When she was lying, if she could have found out the name of Howard's girlfriend, she wouldn't have escalated to this point. "Mr. Howard, I've glanced through your resume, but I have a small question. If I'm not mistaken, the project results you provided us should be owned by the Research Institute, right?" I extended a finger and casually tapped on the table. It was a classic move Sam used in negotiations. He said it would make the other party feel intimidated at any time. Sure enough, Howard seemed to hit a nerve and stood up abruptly. He grabbed Cherry's arm, unwillingly asking, "Didn't you say it was Levi interviewing me in person? Where is he? Call him over." "Shirley, stop playing tough here. Get out. I'll only talk to the HR director." Cherry's eyes dodged mine, not daring to look directly at me. I smiled at her. "Excuse me, miss, is your brother named Levi?" "What a coincidence. My brother seems to have the same name. We have so much fate. You're Cherry. I'm Shirley. Someone might think we're twins, right?" As I finished speaking, Cherry clearly wanted to escape immediately, but she was pulled back by Howard, demanding, "What do you mean? Cherry, have you been lying to me? What are you doing? That hurts." Cherry shouted angrily, "I don't know what she's talking about. You tell me clear. Are you the heiress of White's Group?" Howard's eyes turned red. Frustrated, Cherry scratched his face. "Let go of me. It's not a good look for a newlywed couple to fight like this." I silently handed over their respective bills. "Both of you, calm down. Why don't you take a look at this first?" The two paused, tension easing momentarily, but they were still unwilling to break free from each other. I had to lay out the bills in front of them one by one. "This one is for the repair of my dad's Rolls-Royce. On the day of the accident, Mr. Howard changed lanes over solid lines on the overpass, causing a rear-end collision. Remember that, due to being found fully liable for the accident, this bill is for the repair of my car, and you need to pay it." Howard's expression suddenly froze, squeezing Cherry and asking fiercely, "You said, the car belongs to your dad." I smiled gently. "Let's not digress. Shall we start with the compensation? When the police investigate Cherry's use of the vehicle, why are you accusing me of stealing?" "It was clearly a loan," Cherry retorted sharply. Howard was not hopeless. He understood without me having to explain. The glamorous socialite he pursued so desperately turned out to be a phony. The one he easily discarded was actually the wealthy heiress he had dreamt of. I watched as his eyes filled with disappointment and eventually stared at me blankly, murmuring, "You knew from the beginning and didn't say a word." "Shirley, you're really ruthless. Thanks for the compliment. I take it in stride. A person who is selfish to the core will never admit their wrongs. Arguing with him about right and wrong is futile." "Howard, I didn't want this to happen either. We could have parted ways amicably." I shrugged at him, but he kept pushing his face closer to mine, and if I didn't slap him, my hand would have itched endlessly. I lost interest in continuing the conversation, and threw the bills in front of them. Take a good look. Learn a trade in prison. Repay your debts as soon as you're out. You want to call the police? Howard asked me in a hoarse voice. After 3 years of a relationship, is this how you treat me, Shirley? Cherry had already broken free from him and threw herself at my feet, wailing, Shirley, we're family. You can't call the police on me. Uncle won't approve of this. Please, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I looked at them expressionless, feeling a pang of emotion. While Howard was insulting me, did he ever think about those 3 years of affection? When Cherry's family squandered my family's money and then sided with a rival company, did they ever consider that we were somehow related? If tears were effective, why would we need the police? I pried open her fingers one by one, telling her, reporting crimes is a citizen's right and duty. I cannot judge your right or wrong, but I can only ensure you meet the police. And that's that. I opened the meeting room door, and several police officers standing outside walked in and proceeded with the arrest. Finally, Cherry burst out with real tears. She cried out desperately, let me go. I didn't do anything. I want to see my dad. A young, upright police officer pondered for a moment and said, your dad is already in the police car. Our police cars are spacious enough to accommodate both of you. Howard and Cherry were finally taken away. That day, Cherry's cries were louder than the fireworks on her wedding day. A year later, William's company went bankrupt. On the day William was sentenced for his crimes, he clung to my dad's thigh, wailing and claiming he wanted a letter of forgiveness from him. My dad patted his head and said, when you feigned illness to leave our company and started a new one to compete against me, you already got a letter of forgiveness from me. I can only forgive you once. Being a good person, the most important thing is not to be too greedy. As for me, I've been pursuing that police officer for 10 months and 8 days, but because of my 3 brothers, I haven't succeeded yet. There is a long way to go.